Hi, I'm Larry Levine of STL Nonprofit News, and we're here with the third video installment of our What Do You Know series, which offers both a written column by a local expert about a topic of nonprofit interest and a video interview with our expert. Our previous installments have featured Diane Drollinger of Network for Strong Communities about strategic planning, and Susan Ryan, local public relations expert, about crisis communications. We thank the Nina Needleman Charitable Fund for their generous support for What Do You Know. And for this third installment, we're fortunate to have a bit of what they might call in the retail biz, a BOGO, or buy one, get one free sale, because we not only have today's interview, but two columns on the topic at hand. And that topic is professional coaching, and in particular, a recent set of coaching opportunities that was presented to leaders in our local nonprofit community. Our guest is Nadine Kouba, who has a very rich and substantial career in leadership coaching, organizational effectiveness, and more. Nadine not only runs Kouba Coaching, but she also is president of the St. Louis chapter of the International Coaching Federation. She has an impressive resume of high-level work for such companies as Boeing and May department stores, has a Ph.D. from St. Louis University, and a graduate certificate specifically focused on executive and professional coaching. Nadine, thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you. I appreciate you having me.
So when I say we have two for one, not only has Nadine penned a column for us, but one of her colleagues in the coaching community, Dawn Newman, has as well. And we'll chat in a bit about why we have two columns for this installment, both of which you can find on stlnonprofitnews.org. But let's start with Nadine and the basics. Nadine, I gave a very small sampling of your extensive expertise and experience, but there must be things that I left out or that you'd like to add, or maybe your crossover with the nonprofit community. So tell us a little bit about the work you do.
Well, technically, ICF St. Louis chapter is a not-for-profit that I am a president of, so I certainly can relate to the people in the C-suite of other nonprofits. And I'm a former president of what was called Therapeutic Horsemanship, and was on the board when we purchased the property, and I was the one who actually signed for the $1.3 million construction loan to build the building. So have served as a board president there as well, and understand the issues around strategic planning, budgeting, fundraising that organizations go through. So I can relate to the audience since I am one of you.
Thank you. Yeah, and penning that note is no small feat, and that's a totally different topic about officer and director protection and liability that we could talk about for hours.
Absolutely.
But we're on a different route today. So, and I know we're going to start at a very basic level, but many who are watching might not understand some of the distinctions between coaching and mentoring or other disciplines. So can you just give us a little quick summary of not only kind of the differences, but really affirmatively what makes coaching a unique and special discipline?
Absolutely. The term coaching is used in so many areas that people are confused about what coaching is. Many people think of their athletic coach, and that person is actually coaching for performance, and they have a vested interest in what their player, how well that player does. There are business coaches, and they actually serve more as consultants because they're giving more guidance to whoever their clients are. And certainly their success is somewhat dependent on that client's success in that business. In the world of coaching that I do for personal or professional development, when I talk about being a coach, I am there to kind of be the guide by the side, to partner with my client to help them identify what really are their goals, what is it they want to achieve, and to help them then to develop the plans that will help to get them there, along with helping them figure out if they stub their toe, how do you change? You know, what's a plan B if you need to execute? But my focus is on that client's goals. My personal success as a coach does not hinge actually on their success. It does for referrals and testimonials, but actually their success is their success. I am there to help them gain their success.
And a lot of times, I think it's fair to say, and correct me if I'm wrong, by all means, that there just isn't that kind of person within the organizational construct for a lot of people, whether because they haven't been trained to do it, because of confidentiality, for a
Mhm.
lot of reasons, right?
Absolutely. As a coach, confidentiality is the number one underpinning for us to be able to build a trusting relationship with our client. So even if I'm hired by a company to coach someone within their organization,
Hmm.
um, we set up that agreement up front about the confidentiality. And normally, the only way I would break confidentiality, and the client knows this, is if they're threatening to harm themselves
Hmm.
or others.
Would be the same standards that a psychotherapist or somebody would have. Yeah.
Exactly.
Hmm.
Exactly. But I'm glad you bring that up because as a coach, I am not a therapist.
Right.
I future focus, whereas a
Hmm.
therapist is going to go to the past.
Hmm.
I'm not a teacher. Now, there are times I will do practice with my clients if they want to practice having a conversation with someone that they think is going to be difficult, and
A
we can
role play of some
practice.
sort. Uh-huh. Hmm.
But I am not there to actually teach them a lot of skills unless that's part of the agreement about,
Sure.
yes, I do need you, help me to do that.
Right.
Um, and I'm not a consultant. I am not going to tell them what to do. I
Hmm.
don't walk in my client's shoes. I don't know the situation they are fully in. So all I can do is to guide them, not tell them what to do. Because even if client asks me, what would you do in this situation? I would say, I don't know all the players. I
And
don't know the
hope,
situation.
right. And speaking of future, looking to the future, I mean, the hope I imagine would be that, after you've empowered them to think through how to think through, that
Mhm.
they'll have that voice in their ear going forward where they can say, now let me think back to those dialogues I had with Nadine and, this is how I should think about this.
And actually, you almost directly quoted one of my clients
Oh,
as we were ending our agreement, looked at me and he said, "Thank you so much. Now, when I run into difficulties, I sit back, I stop, and I think, what questions would Nadine ask me?" He learned, honestly, he learned to coach himself, which was
right.
wonderful. He
The
learned to
self
do that.
actualization. Yeah.
Yeah,
Hmm.
he learned to ask reflective questions of himself, which is
That's
a lot of what
fantastic.
coaches do.
And the immediate reason we're here today is because you and others in the local chapter of ICF were able to help the St. Louis nonprofit community and
Mhm.
some of its executives in a very special way. So can you talk a little bit about the Gift of Coaching program and how it came about?
Absolutely. The International Coaching Federation, the global group that we belong to as a chapter, has a program called Gift of Coaching, which specifically focuses on providing pro bono coaching to non-for-profits. And it enables all the individual chapters to have an impact within their own community. So our chapter embarked on doing the Gift of Coaching this year,
Hmm.
and we solicited volunteers among our membership, and we had 18 coaches that volunteered to do 4 hours of coaching for a non-for-profit client. And then we were almost overwhelmed. We had over 30 nonprofit leaders apply,
Hmm.
and based on us having a wonderful turnout of our volunteer coaches, um, every one of those applicants got a coach. And in some cases, some coaches coach two. I happened to luck out and get three.
I know, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. So, well, with expertise and experience, comes that burden. So it's great that you did that. How did you find the nonprofits who were interested?
Um, it was really our committee. Marcy Meyer Eisen
Hmm.
was our chair of special projects, and so she
Hmm.
chaired the committee. And then we had two members, Dawn Newman and Beth
Hmm.
Anagnos, who were on the committee, who reached out to nonprofits they knew. And Marcy is, by being at the Jewish Federation, is very hooked into many of the non-for-profits, but
Sure.
she
Okay.
did reach out to the United Way. And that,
Oh, okay.
so
Great.
we ended up coaching non-for-profits in the greater St. Louis area. We had some folks from Illinois that applied,
Hmm.
as well as in the surrounding counties. So we were very fortunate. We had a great turnout, and I'm very grateful to my 18 volunteers from the chapter.
And talk about them. Talk about what the credentials might entail for those coaches and what they have to go through in order to obtain them.
Well, by being an ICF chapter, our members are either in the process of finishing their coach training and getting the required number of hours they need to be certified by ICF Global as a coach. There are 3 levels of certification. One is called ACC, Associate Certified Coach. That says that you have gone through at least 60 hours of accredited coach training recognized by ICF.
Okay.
And have completed at least 100 hours of logged coaching experience after you program. Some people are considered professional certified coaches, and those are people who've done the training and have 500 hours of documented coaching. And then we have one person who is a master certified coach, and that is someone who has done the coaching training that's recognized, but they have over 2,500 documented hours of coaching.
Yeah.
And to get certified, it isn't just attend training. You have to submit coaching tapes of yourself coaching a client that are reviewed against the ICF standards of coaching, and you have to be coaching at that level. So the people who volunteered to be coaches were either in the process of completing their 100 hours to get their first level of certification, but had already done their training and passed that credentialing of that, yes, you are coaching at that level. So we had mostly ACC level coaches and PCC level coaches who did provide the services to the non-for-profit leaders.
It's an amazing value. And the column you wrote for us described the experience you had with those 3 participants, and they were anonymous, of course. We won't give away the whole column, but maybe give us, just to make this more concrete, kind of a couple of quick examples of kind of what you thought they took away from the experience. So.
I would be delighted to. As with any client, they come in with certain things that are top of mind for them as needs that they want to coach. So it could become becoming a stronger leader, stronger in strategic planning, how to better handle difficult conversations, all of those things. And my clients were very typical. They came in with some top of mind concerns that they wanted to work on. But during the first session, as we talked, other topics emerged. And so I would say, I'm going to quote a couple of them because it's easier. So excuse me while I look at documentation.
That works, right.
One of my clients said, I am more confident in my leadership skills and my ability to delegate. Another said, the ability to have someone who is outside our organization provide feedback to me was a huge gift. The outside perspective helped make all the difference. My coach helped me to focus on process mapping some of my larger tasks. Another client said, I feel much more confident in how I present myself as a leader, and having a sounding board outside of my organization to review situations, which was extremely valuable. And then one of the other things we asked, and this is what Don's article is going to talk about, we surveyed our clients to say, what did you take away? Which is why I have these quotes.
Right.
But we also asked them, well, what was the impact on your organization, not just you as a leader? And so a couple of my clients wrote, increased my ability to effectively address work situations as well as be able to share some of what I learned. Another said, if I am more organized and a better leader, so is everyone else on my team.
Yeah, and just to be clear, you didn't have just executive directors, right? You had people from different levels in an organization.
Absolutely. I personally had one executive director, one C-suite level leader, and the other was a director who reported up to a C-suite leader that reported to an
There
executive
we go. So
director.
perfect. Yeah.
So we look to focus on more the director level and above, so that we would have greater impact for them in their organization.
I
And
want to get to the, oh, go ahead. I didn't mean to
no,
interrupt. Please
oh,
finish.
that's fine. What we were looking at is if we're going to have a real impact for them and their organization and the community, you really have to kind of start at the top or the mid-level and up, so that that can trickle down in the organization and they can be better role models of leadership for all of their employees.
One thing I was thinking about in the nonprofit world, and it's a bit of a generalization, so I'll ask for a little bit of slack here, but you know, a lot of people in the business world come from management background, business background, MBA background, that kind of thing. Not all, of course. I came with a legal background, and you came from a different background, but a lot of them. And so the notion of managing both down and up within an organization is
Mhm.
probably a little more known. You know, in the nonprofit world, you know, you have a lot more people who came from social services or the community. So you know, I think most people in our culture, you know, think of managing down, but the whole notion of managing up, especially with boards, seems to me to be
Mhm.
something that might be a little bit more of a challenge for some in the nonprofit community than elsewhere. I was wondering if you had an observation about that.
Um, Honestly, I think if you're an executive leader, whether you're with a for-profit or a not-for-profit, reporting up to a board is difficult in either
It is,
situation
for
because
sure.
the role is still the same.
Right.
They are looking at having really excellent strategic planning skills, people management skills, budgeting skills as
Hmm.
well. And if you're in the for-profit world, then are you making money?
Right.
And in the nonprofit world is, are you raising the money you need? So actually, their stresses are very similar. I think the difference can be is that if you work in a not-for-profit, as you were saying, it's about leadership. I
Hmm.
find it in small to mid-sized companies as well, is that people are technical experts in whatever it is they do. What
Hmm.
they are not experts in is leading people.
Hmm.
The good news is that is a learnable skill.
It is.
And so whether you're working with a coach or you attend some leadership training, you can get that experience and you can strengthen your leadership skills.
One place I could see coaching come in incredibly usefully in that regard is that you can learn essential or basic leadership skills, you know, by
Mhm.
training, but leadership is contextual, right?
It
So,
is.
so the question of how do you apply those skills in your particular business or nonprofit is something that a coach can help immensely with, right?
I think so. And I think it gets to the point my one client said about talking to a neutral party, somebody outside the organization is able to allow that leader literally to open their kimono and show their vulnerabilities about maybe I'm not confident about this, or I got burned in a different situation. I don't want to get burned again. I don't want to do it in a way that doesn't work. Because as we all know, once you say something, you can't reel it back in. You want it
Were
to be
there
right
any,
the first time.
were there any responses to the survey or otherwise, or from your clients that surprised you, or you actually, you know, were they typical of what you usually hear? Were there any that jumped out and were surprising? It's okay if there weren't. I'm just curious.
Um, there was a great deal of gratitude expressed by our clients to have the opportunity they did to
Hmm.
speak with someone who was their champion and cheerleader. Because as a coach, I am going to reinforce my clients' successes and I'm going to help them to recover from something if it doesn't go well and to maintain, hopefully, their confidence to move forward and to be successful. And so I think the clients were incredibly grateful for that,
Nice.
and grateful for a coach holding a space where they could actually think things through. That's probably one of the most powerful things about coaching is that the coach holds a space. that client stops in their busy world and spends the half an hour, 45 minutes, hour, whatever it is they've contracted with that coach, focusing on what they really want to focus on.
That
And
deep
it
breath.
gives,
Yeah.
yeah, they take the deep breath, but they also have the opportunity to really reflect and think through. And it's amazing what someone can resolve in a half an hour. Um, Speaking with a coach that they couldn't do in a couple hours by themselves sitting at their desk, because they
Mm-hmm.
need that interaction. They need the coach asking them some very powerful questions to help
Mm-hmm.
them search and maybe reframe, because oftentimes we're only looking through the lens we have, and a coach oftentimes can say, but what's the other person's perspective?
Sure.
What they might they be thinking as they walk into this
You
conversation with you?
either from your individual or your company clients, do you ever get the benefit of checking in a year or two later and saying, let's reflect on what happened, or is it a fleeting experience, or how does that work?
With many of my clients, there is closure. I mean, there is closure, and they do move on. Um, with a couple, every now and then, I'll send an email to say, just checking in to see how things are going. But that could be at least 6 months after we've stopped
Sure.
talking, maybe even a year to circle back and do that. Um, I'm also a mentor to a number
Mm.
of people. And in my mentoring relationship, I will always tell them, I don't divorce you after we complete our mentoring. And I still have some of my mentoring clients who contact me and say, do you have 15 minutes? Could I just run something past you?
Sure. Yeah. Um, you kind of touched indirectly on something I was interested in. Are there folks who go through the coaching experience from the client side who have great skills in some area or whatever, who say, I'd really like to give back by doing this? Or is this something that primarily, is done by those with substantial human resources or organizational development background? Do you see clients evolve into coaching after they've been through it?
A few do. They are interested in it. We talk about it. However, what I see is there are many coaches who do not have human resource backgrounds. One of my colleagues on the board is an attorney.
Mm-hmm.
I have some others who have come out of the corporate world and been in sales. Um, a couple who have been technically based who get involved in coaching. So coaching is not limited to just human resource backgrounds.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's more people having that desire to work with clients as a coach, though, not as
Mm-hmm.
a consultant.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a different calling
Very
to do
different.
it.
Yeah, for sure. And it's selfless because you're kind of in the background, and you're really trying to empower them to be all that they can be. And so it is
Absolutely.
very different. Anything else? Oh, go ahead. Sounds like you were
I
going
was
to
going to
say something.
say it's incredibly rewarding, though,
Yeah.
even though technically we're in the background. I can see somebody growing and developing or attaining, like working for a promotion and getting that promotion and
Mm-hmm.
succeeding in their career. Or um, I'm coaching someone right now that is a director that has taken on a new project as part of her development in her company, but
Mm-hmm.
is looking to increase her speaking skills. So that's
Mm-hmm.
something we're focusing on right now,
Very nice.
um, along with, as she is having to take on this major challenge, talking a bit about how she elevates her own thinking to a higher level because of the impact. She's in IT and bringing in
Mm-hmm.
an acquisition and joining their
Nice.
systems. And trust me, um, doing that is huge, but she has to think above her level as a director. She has to
Yeah,
think
no
about
doubt.
organizational impact and get the 10,000 foot view
Right.
versus just the 5,000 foot view. So, yeah, you never quite know what might come out of a coaching relationship you have, or what somebody originally presents and then where they find themselves.
Sure. Great. Is there anything else about either the gift of coaching or any final thoughts about kind of coaching in general you'd like to leave our audience with?
Um, One is our chapter was delighted to be able to offer the gift of coaching. I suspect we will look at doing it again in 2022 or in 2023,
Nice.
because ICF Global has another program called Project Ignite, and that's a pro bono program where we would volunteer to coach people within some sort of an educational setting. And the
Mm-hmm.
last time we offered that program, we worked with the Kirkwood school system
Oh,
and were
fantastic.
coaching the superintendent and principals and major leaders at the district level.
Mm-hmm.
So we will continue to do these projects. So if people think it's something they would be interested in, I would just tell them to keep their eye out. Maybe next year, we'll see. I will be stepping out of the presidency. There will be a new president, so it will really be the board making the decision about which way to go. The other thing, though, is if you are interested in coaching, certainly you can contact me or the St. Louis ICF chapter, and our email address is icfstl.org. We have a Find a Coach button on our website
Okay.
so that all of our members who are coaches list themselves. We have the specialties listed, whether it's leadership, or we have an ADH coach that's in there. We have life coaches, a financial coach. So it's all kinds of health coaches. So depending on what you're looking for, if you think you would want to engage a coach, then I would say that is one place I could recommend you go to find coaches that actually are certified. Because here's the caveat: many people hang out a shingle that says coach.
Nice.
That does not mean that they have actually had formal training, or that they've had recognized training, because the International Coach Federation does approve different training programs.
Right.
Not all programs are approved because they don't necessarily really follow the standards of coaching that ICF upholds.
Or
Or,
even that they've had the 100, 500, or 2,000 hours, right? I mean,
oh,
they could
absolutely. I
hang it
mean,
without any experience. That's right.
exact, and many have, and that is actually a dilemma we have as professional coaches when we see people hanging out shingles and say, "Well, I'm a coach and I'm a coach," and they could be. They might have a specialty area, like a speech coach, and they don't have coach training, but they are calling that, and fine, maybe that's their technical expertise, but it confuses people because of the term not being defined as well.
Hey, I could pitch for the Cardinals, but I'm not sure I'd be successful at it. So there you go.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's an example of many in the marketplace of
Mhm.
folks representing something that may or may not comport with reality. And this is a having the training and the hours is a validation of the experience and the expertise learned. So thank you for that. And I know you can find Nadine on LinkedIn because I have looked at her LinkedIn profile. So
I am
that's
there.
you can find her there, and you have the ICF information. And so I think we're all set on contact. I can't thank you enough for taking the time to talk about gift of coaching, to help people understand what coaching is. And you can check out both Nadine and Dawn's articles on stlnonprofitnews.org, where they'll be posted. And we thank you so much, Nadine, for being with us today.
It was my pleasure. Thank you so much for inviting me to join
It's
you today.
our pleasure. And until next time, this is Larry Levine from STL Nonprofit News. Take care. We'll talk to you soon.